while. We're utilizing this time where we are at home working in our rooms, in our kitchens, makeshift offices to learn, to exchange experiences. We have been meeting incredible entrepreneurs, investors, and key players in Egypt and Italy, from all over the world, basically. Today, I'm super excited to introduce Patrick Bosteels. Thank you so much for joining, Patrick.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Patrick. You are in Turkey right now. I would love to know about how are things there with the quarantine. Is there a lockdown? How's the situation there?
Well, the only lockdown is that people of 65 plus cannot be on the street anymore.
Okay.
That's like really forbidden. Restaurants are closed, so public places are closed. Actually, we just opened a co-working space, which we also had to close. So that's a kind of unfortunate, of course.
Yeah.
I think here it's like a self-imposed quarantine. So my wife and I, we are home now for the last 15 days now. Like most of our friends, so most of the people that I know, they are at home themselves, not going out, only going out to do shopping and necessary things, and that's it. So it's clear that here the focus is a little bit on keeping it, trying to keep it contained, but at the same time, it's clear that they want the business to go on. They want the industries to run, production continue, because we were already in an economical crisis.
Yeah.
So this is like on top of it. So this is going to be a tough nut to crack.
Yeah.
So we'll see where this is going now. It's very exciting. It's also a kind of crossing fingers, burning candles, do whatever you can imagine to keep your hopes up that this will one day all be over, and we will definitely go into a next kind of version of our life, I assume, after all this.
Yeah, right. This is what a lot of experts and opinion leaders are saying, that we're not going to go back to the old normal. It's going to be a complete new way of working and living and experiencing life. Have you had to, aside from the closure of the space, have you had to also like modify a lot of things in your work? How are you handling the home office situation? How is it?
It's kind of funny because so my wife and I we work together. So for us, quarantine or no quarantine, it's together. So for the last 7 years, we have been working together every day. So for us, it doesn't really change anything, except for the fact that we're not going to our co-working space. We're just doing our stuff at home with our laptops in front of us. Of course, the pressure is less because there is less to do. Before we did workshops, we were working on an accelerator program. We do boot camps. We had hackathons and startup weekends planned. All these things are gone. So you cannot replace everything by digital. There's a kind of digital diarrhea also at the same time now, because now everybody is giving advice and everybody is live, and so there's kind of a reaction, of course, because everybody is busy, and then suddenly we're not busy anymore. I mean, we are staying at home waiting for some good news that might happen. So it's a weird period. So I told my wife, the first thing is we will first be very unhappy with it, then we will accept it, and then we will start finding out new solutions. And I think that we are now almost in the period of, okay, we have to find solutions now. We cannot continue to just be unhappy with it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I already see a lot of people, as you were saying, right, connecting online, taking conversations online, which involve more people as well. I think there is room for a lot of positive changes, but of course, we can't deny this is a huge economic crisis, and it's going to get only bigger, right? But I want to get down to your story now, because I mean, you moved from Belgium to Turkey. I want to know all the story behind that, and why did you choose that country to start an entrepreneurship movement?
Yeah. So I was living and working in Belgium. I was also for a time in Paris living and working. I was in London living and working. So mainly Europe. For 35 years I was there active. I have 5 kids. At the same time as also started 13 companies. Actually, I always say 13 companies, but actually I don't know, because I say 13 because normally that's not a very good number to say that. So I kind of challenged that. But I probably started more companies than 13, but I always say 13.
Yeah.
So actually I'm an artist. I'm from art school. I was a filmmaker, a photographer, and screen printer. I started as an artist. I did one exhibition.
Uh-huh.
People came. That was very nice.
Yeah.
Everybody said, "Patrick, you're so creative. How is it possible?" Blah blah blah. You know, people who know you, they are polite to you,
Hmm.
uh, polite with you. But in the end of the day, after 14 days, my wallet was even emptier than I started the
Yeah.
exhibition. I also
Yeah.
had to buy things
Yeah.
because people came. So, being a father too quickly at that time, I had to choose to make something that makes money.
Hmm.
And so I'm an entrepreneur. So there is nothing romantic about starting as an entrepreneur. It was just like, I have to make money now. And
Right.
I promised myself at 16 that never ever I will have a boss. My father was a very harsh man.
Uh-huh.
I left home at 19. And so I promised myself already at the age of 16, never ever somebody will be my boss. So today
Yeah.
my wife is my boss, but she's a good boss. That's something else. But never ever. Oh, I just started a company because that's all I could do. I mean, if you don't want to work with somebody, for somebody, then
Yeah.
you have to start with your own thing. So after 35 years doing a lot of things, mainly a combination between creativity and um, software or platforms. So always there was always a part of like the technical things that I like, and there's a part of
Hmm.
me that is very creative. So I have these two kind of personalities, I imagine. So I always try to combine them in my work. So when I came to Turkey, it was actually to do business. So a friend of mine said I was having this music platform in Belgium together with Universal Music. Um, we had a market, so I wanted to expand my business. And then I decided to ask around, like, what is a good country to go to? And the people from Universal Music said to me that you cannot go to France, you cannot go to London, and you cannot go to Holland, and you cannot go to Germany. And I was like, where do I go to? And a friend of mine said, why don't you go to Istanbul? I
Hmm.
was like, oh my God. I know that you're also in Egypt. So my first experience in this part of the world was Egypt. And actually, that was not such a good experience, to be honest with you. I was in Cairo and I really was afraid. I was like fucking frightened on the street. So he said, like, go to Istanbul. So I was also like, my God, is this going to be the same, yes or no? Very exciting. So he introduced me to a friend. I came here. After the third time I came here, the business didn't go. Huh? After the third time I came here, there was this woman that opened the door, and the guy that I was having a meeting with, he said, "Yeah, this person is from the bank, ex-banker, and she will join our meeting later." So I told him like, "Wow, she's good looking," and that woman at later became my wife. She said to
Oh.
me, "You are really a bastard. I just opened the door, and all you have to say to me is that you're good looking." So I was kind of hitting on her from day one and minute one. But 3 months later, I moved to Turkey. I gave up my family and my business. I asked my kids if they agreed that I would go to Turkey for
Hmm.
good, like to
Hmm.
live there. So
Hmm.
they said yes, and thanks to their blessing, I just moved, and that was it. So 3 months time, I changed everything in my life. So I was 51 at that time. So that was quite impactful for myself. My wife was not married before; she was living together with a cat. So for her also, that was like suddenly there is a stranger in my house, and now he doesn't speak the language. He doesn't have business here. He has no income here because I gave up everything up. I gave everything away. So that was very impactful, but it's also the best decision of my life. I mean, this was. Um, we were also saying after 2 years, like, what the fuck were we thinking? I mean, we had no idea what to do. We didn't, we barely knew each other actually. But look, now 7 years later, we are still very happily married.
It's a proof that it works. What was that first business? What were you doing in that first business?
My very first business that I ever started was a photographer because I am a photographer.
Hmm.
So I started with my ex-wife a photo studio, which was a total disaster because we didn't do, and that will come back in the 5 decisions that you have to make to become successful.
Hmm.
So we didn't do our homework, so it was a complete failure. So
Hmm.
and the marriage and the business went down. But that was also the best lesson. The best lesson is that you have to make your homework. I mean, you
Right.
have to know what you're doing. You cannot just start a business like that. So that was good. And then after that, all different kind of businesses. Mostly, I mean, the last 4 or 5 had everything to do with digital, like kind of digital agencies kind of thing. Yeah.
I want to stop you for a second, right? We're here to talk about these 5 decisions, right? That lead to success, that took you to success.
Yeah.
And I want to stop there for 1 minute. You said you have to do your homework, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
what we hear a lot as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
What is exactly the homework? I think like that sometimes remains the question. Like, okay, but what is it that I have to find out? What is it that I have
Yeah.
to research? Do you have like some tips for people like to really get things clear before they?
Yeah. Definitely. I want to go back to one thing. We say always, so 5 decisions that lead to success. Now, I have to stop at one point at success. What is success for a business person? I mean, this is a very crucial thing. And it also evolved in my head what was success. I remember with my first business, my second business, which was a very good business that I sold also, I could buy a Mercedes. So my parents had no car. All my life, we had no car at home. We never went on holidays because my father was working, my mother was home with 4 kids. So you assume when you
Yeah.
drive with a Mercedes to your mother, and you assume that is success. That
Right.
success is I have now something that they could never have, and I can show them that I did my best, and that I have now this very fancy Mercedes, which is
Yeah.
in Belgium at that time very very like fancy if you have that. So you think that is success at that moment. I mean,
Yeah.
that was it's a naive thing, but that is the process we're in. I was 26, I think, at that time. So then, of course, now that I'm almost 60 now, I say success has nothing to do with that car or with money. There are 2 types of success for me. There's success in life, which means happiness, and there's success in business, which is actually also happiness. But it is also related with the fact that you can sell your company. So having a company that makes good money is nice, but for me, that's just nice.
Right.
For me, entrepreneurship also means that you are able to build something that has a value and that you can pass that value to the next owner and you get money for that, so you can just forget about it and do something else. So, so the definition of success for yourself is very important. What do you define for yourself as success? So what I learned is that I wrote a blog post I think 3 days ago, and I ended up with the very simple line: success and happiness lay in the same bed. They're very related to each other, very
Right.
much related to each other. The only thing is, how do you define success? Is it money? Is it achievement? Is it impact? So all these things you have to find out for yourself, and they change in time. The older you get, the more philosophical you get in these things.
It becomes.
Some can say it's boring, but that's how it is. I mean, that's how our lives evolve. So going back to your homework, I'll come back to my photo studio story, and that will show you what I mean by homework. So when I started this photo studio, which was a very old house from 1850, I renewed it. I worked for a year in there to make it all like it was before, very nice. And then you open the door.
Yeah.
Because the first thing you do when you open a shop, you open the door, and I had a photo studio in the back, and I thought I'm gonna make all these amazing family pictures. People will come to the studio, I make family pictures, and I will become rich and famous. Of course, after one day, the cash register was still empty, and after 1 month, the cash register was even more empty because you have to eat in the meantime. So what I learned there is then the hard way is that after a couple of weeks, I find out that actually there were already 6 other photographers in that village of
Right.
30,000 people. That people had cameras at home. They took pictures themselves in the park, went to the photographer. I mean, we're talking about 35 years ago now. So I take negatives. I go to the photographer. He develops the pictures, and I don't pay anything but the picture.
Yeah.
So it meant that I couldn't make any money with that idea. So I didn't do my homework. I didn't look what is my added value. So what can I add as a service, and what
Right.
can I add to that service as a value or a product that people say I want to buy this because I need it or I
Mm-hmm.
want it. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't do that exercise at all. You have to know your competition.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know your market. You have to know your addressable market. Who can be your customer? So these are the homeworks you should do. And now it's very funny because today I do a lot of workshops around business model canvas, lean startup, and design thinking. And it's very funny because I'm always saying things to people now that I'm like, my God, I never did these things.
Right.
I never did any preparation at all. Never in my life. In 35 years, I went with the flow. If I thought there is an opportunity, I went there. So sometimes it was good, sometimes it was very bad. I mean, but today I also understand that it's better to do your homework. The success rate improves, and also your happiness rate improves because every failure. I mean, it's maybe cool to do your fuck up nights talks, but actually it's a fuck up, and nobody wants a fuck up. It's bullshit. Nobody wants to fail. You want to succeed. So that is the homework you have to do. So business model canvas, lean startup. They are very simple things. They make a lot of sense because they are very logic. But sometimes we get so carried away with our ideas that we forget that we also have to prepare ourselves. So that is the part. Actually, that was my second point of decision. The decision is you have to make your homework before you start.
Right. What are the other decisions that you feel that you took or you didn't take that led to success eventually?
The first decision that you make is, do I want to become an entrepreneur? That's the first decision you have to make. And that's a very important decision because you might not be suitable to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody can be an entrepreneur. I mean, it's a very insecure thing. I always bootstrap my businesses, but today, if I look at a startup and the startup can collect money and then has a runway from 6 months, I never had this in my life. I'm like, my God, if I would do it again, I would definitely use other people's money to start a business and not using mine and working my ass off like a crazy man. So the decision to make an entrepreneur is the first one that is very important. And attached to that, especially today, attached to that, can I create at the start already a good team around me? If you don't have these things today, because everything became very complex, if you don't have these things today, then you're taking a huge, huge risk. You need the best team, and you need to make the decision that can I live for the next 2-3 years?
Sorry. We had a little problem with the internet. It got frozen for a little while. Can you repeat again? So sorry.
Of course. So the first decision is do I want to be an entrepreneur? Do I want to take the risk? You risk your family life, you risk your everything. I mean, it's a very, very important decision that you make for yourself, also emotionally. And can I build the best team around me? And this is crucial today because everything becomes very complex. So today, I think the most startups have learned also probably in the hard way, is that if they go alone to a startup investor early stage and they say, I have a brilliant idea, and even though the brilliant idea is there, if there is no team, the investor will not invest in you.
Sorry.
Can you hear me again? No, there's no problem.
Yes, we've been having some issues with the lines, with the networks. So yeah, keep going.
No problem. So a good team around you is definitely crucial. So you have to decide. This also means that you have to understand from yourself, can I work in a team?
Yeah.
Am I a team player, or am I old style, I am the boss and everybody has to listen to me? So that is for me a decision you have to make for yourself. So the second one is the homework thing. This is all before you start.
Yeah.
This before you start anything else.
Yeah.
The second thing is do your homework, as I explained. And then the third one is also a very interesting one. The third one is this is what we most of the time call pivoting in the lean startup or a business model canvas. So never stop improving. So your goal, once you have your prototype and you understand your market, your goal is to find a market that says this product or service that you offer is what I need or I desire. And what you bring to me as a value is worth it, and I want to pay for it. Right. So the product market fit is hugely important. So the decision here is to make is you're never finished until you know that you have found the right product market fit.
Right.
So the decision that you have to make here is that you can never decide until you can see and prove with customers, not with blah 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 and enquete and surveys. That's all bullshit. For me, sales is king.
Mm-hmm.
So the one you see that you have sales and the sales is rising with your efforts, then you know you have found a market product fit that really makes sense to make you successful. So that's very, very, very important. So you can never stop improving and you cannot fight change. So that's a decision for yourself. Can I live with that? Because that's an emotional thing, you know. I have an idea, and you're like focused. The whole team has to work with it, and then in the end of the day, it doesn't work because you were too stubborn to change your mind.
Right, right. I just want to add one thing. So there's a few people that have joined the conversation. There's Adil, Marwa saying hi. Guys, if you want to send us your questions, write them in the comments and we're going to be answering. Patrick is going to be answering your questions, especially when it comes to building that business and those decisions that you have to make that sometimes make it really, really difficult. So we were saying, number one, do your homework, right?
Yeah.
Number two, was pivot, right?
Well, number one is am I made from the right wood to become an entrepreneur?
Okay.
This is, I mean,
question yourself, basically.
Yeah, question yourself. Are you good in that? I mean, some people are not born to be entrepreneurs. I'm very sorry to say this. I mean, being an entrepreneur is not like it's like a romantic decision that makes you cool. I mean, today I think there's too much coolness around entrepreneurs, and why would I not be a good person if I'm a good employee? I mean, for me, there is no difference between as a value, as a human being, you are just as valuable one to another. It's just some people like to be entrepreneurs because of different reasons, and some people are very good as team players, as an employee. So for me, you're not cool for me if you're a startup.
Mm-hmm.
It's a decision that you make for yourself. I got that. So there are three things you can do in life. You can work for a company,
Mm-hmm.
you can do your own business, or you can stay at your parents'.
Right. Right.
Otherwise, if you're not working, you have to be very lucky to be living in a country where they have an unemployment money, which is not for every country like this. Or you can do the romantic thing and you can lay under the bridge in Paris. That's also an option, of course. But these are the choices in life. That's five, and that's it. That's over. I mean, and you have to choose one of these things. So you decide which of these five possibilities will I go for. That's for me the first thing you have to do.
Right.
So the
right.
second one is the homework.
Yeah.
Very, very, very important. And as a third one is don't fight change and go for that product market fit that makes you successful as a business.
Right. Right. So Mohammed, we were talking about the team right now, and Mohammed Isam is asking, as you're talking about the team, if I want to create a team by selecting the people I already need, how could I know what I actually need? Which profile of team members?
Actually, it's not so difficult. Just look at what you're going to make as a service or as a product. If you are going to do a SaaS solution, of course you need a developer that's specifically on the product.
Yeah.
But there are also things that are not product related. For example, you need marketing.
Right.
You need a money person, kind of CTO, a CFO, so a financial person.
Right.
You need sales. So these things have nothing to do with what you're doing as a product. Like if it's SaaS, okay, you need developers, but you still need sales. You still need after sales. You still need service. You still need financial. So there are a lot of things you need. Any company needs. That's the same.
Right. Right.
And when you're starting as a startup, you cannot have for all these functions different people.
Exactly.
So it means most of the time you are 3-4 people, and you have to see what is needed at that moment in the stage of your company, and do I have these skills on board, yes or no?
Right.
People who do a SaaS solution, who did business development, who did business administration in university, and then they come to me and they say, yeah, we want to do a SaaS solution. Yeah, and who of your founders is a tech guy? Oh, no, we will rent somebody, we will hire somebody I said, that's not going to work. It's never going to work because the commitment is not there from an employee like you have as a co-founder. So it's common sense. So the basic things, what you need really to build your business, if that is not in the founders, then don't do it.
Right. Or find someone, right? Find a co-founder, right?
Find a co-founder, definitely. I mean, the hardest thing is to find a co-founder. It's not like Tinder for co-founders. I'm dreaming of it every day. There should be a Tinder for co-founders.
Yeah. There's been a lot of startups or at least some, I know two in Egypt, that were looking to create this kind of matching platform. It's hard. It's very difficult.
I tried it also. I had a platform to find co-founders, but never took off. Never.
Right. Because it is like a marriage, right? You're committing to, working together, and probably there's going to be fights. There's going to be disagreements.
Definitely.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Mohammed, for your question. But you were saying.
Then we go to number 4.
Yeah.
Number 4 is also a very important decision, and this is very debatable, I know. But in my 35 years of being an entrepreneur, I kind of stick to it now. All your available time goes to your startup.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a decision that you make to give up your private so-called leisure time. It doesn't mean you cannot football anymore. It doesn't mean you cannot play squash anymore. But it does mean it's not a fucking 40 hours per week thing. It's not. So if you have that dream, decide to become an employee.
Right.
But you cannot just say I'll work 8 hours per day. It doesn't work. It does not work. I never worked 8 hours in my life. Whether it was a successful business or a not successful business, it takes a lot of your time. So it means it has a lot of frustration and stress on your private life. I have 5 kids, so I have no idea how I did all these things, but they are there today. But I also sacrificed a lot of things in my private life, because I was like crazy about doing my business. Mm-hmm. So it's also a decision you have to make for yourself. Can I really sacrifice that amount of energy, focus, and time in my life to my business? Yes or no? If you cannot do it, don't start a business. Really not. Right. There is no 9 to 5 business owners. Definitely not.
Right. Mohammed is coming back with another question.
Yes, Mohammed.
How can I find suitable ones? So suitable co-founders, I guess he means. I mean that I am the only one in my community who have the interest and passion towards the business idea that I want to create, and no one else. So how could I find the enthusiastic ones like me to ensure the progress of the idea?
Maybe he has to go to Tinder then.
Or Harmonica, which is in Egypt, it's another kind of Tinder.
So I will be very honest with Mohammed. So look, there is no way, if you don't know a person. So first of all, don't start a business with friends or family. Can you avoid that? Don't do it. Right? First, my mother was right. I had a business with one of my brothers. Very, very, very bad. The end. Very, very bad. I didn't spoke to my brother for the last 20 years, I think. So friends and family normally excluded. That's one. Right. Secondly, if you find somebody and you are the person who has the idea, or you see yourself as the captain of the ship, and you want to find a co-founder, start working with people not as a co-founder, but like let's do things together. 6 months, a year, and then you can become a co-founder. Right. So that's the only way to understand, like, is this going to make sense, yes or no? I once had a co-founder. It was not really a co-founder. I started a company, and then after 2 years, I got on board two. They were not even friends, just people that I knew, but I thought they were very good for the business. So I said, okay, I give each of you 1/3 of my company. And we didn't really do a trial. So I decided like overnight. So they came to me, we talked again, we had dinner, we were drunk, we talked again. So three times talk. And then I said, okay, I'll give you, each of you, 1/3 of the shares. Now, the first 2 years, it went very good. We grew the money, we grew the business very good. We made good money. We reinvested the profit into the company, all very nice. The 3rd year went also very good, but it went so good that one of my, it was not really a co-founder, but one of my partners, he became very arrogant he was the CTO. He became very arrogant to customers. All I had to do at a certain moment, all I was doing is calling customers to excuse myself for my partner that he was so arrogant in meetings. So I lost customers like that. So, and that was after that I already gave 1/3 of the shares. Now, what is the bad thing is that, so at the end of the day, I said, okay, I cannot work with the guy, so I want him out. But my other partner, he didn't want to fight. So he was blocking the decision, because if you are 3 in a board meeting, so the shares are equal. So you have to always think about these things. So your shareholder agreement is really, really very important here. So you have a discussion, and then you say, you're around the table, and you say, okay, we're going to vote, and I want to vote that this person is out. You cannot make him going out as a shareholder, but you can make him out as a manager.
Right.
Okay. So you say, we vote. So one is against, one is for, and the other one says, I cannot decide. The result was that the guy stayed, and in the end, I went to Turkey. So it's very important to understand these mechanisms of when you have co-founders. It's very important to understand, how do you come together? How do you understand from each other? Yes, we can really collaborate, it's no problem. And the third part is, how can we separate from each other if it doesn't work?
Right.
So finding is one thing. I understand Mohammed's pain, because that's the pain of many entrepreneurs who want to start a business, but they understand that they cannot do it alone. Yeah. The only way to do it is to go around and talk to people. And at the moment, this means you have to be very outgoing. You have to be very social. You have to hang out on all these events that are organizing. Now you have to do it online. But in the end of the day, you have to be very outgoing, very social, talk to everybody you know, and I'll ask for references until you find somebody. But then, before you really go into co-founding, make sure there's a trial period, and make sure that you make a shareholder agreement where it is clear how you can marry, as you say, but also how can you divorce.
Right.
Because I forgot that part.
Right.
Even I was the founder of the company.
Right. And that's why the shareholder agreement is so important, right?
Amazingly important. Amazingly important.
Right. So we have another question from Mohammed Saif. Hi, Mohammed. So he's saying, is it the right time to start a business? He just came in. He came in late, so he missed the first part. But he's saying, is it the right time to start a business, or even think of starting a business, or shall we wait until this Corona thing is over?
To be honest with you, there are two answers. If you have something that is related to the problems we have today, you start tomorrow. It's that simple. But if you have something that is a desire, so there are two things you can make as a product as a service. So there is desire, people want something, and people need something. So what do we need? Shelter, like a house, food, these are needs. Healthcare, these are the needs. Desire is everything you don't need to live, and that's a lot. 80% of the things that we have today. Me, Nathan?
I will do it.
Okay, just a second.
Sure.
I'm kicked out by my wife now.
The real boss, as you said before.
She needs to. I was in the kitchen actually, so she says, "Can you go to the living room?" It's no problem.
Right. Well, these are the offices of today in quarantine, right?
Yes, that's life. That's life. So yeah. Where was I now? I just forgot now.
So you were saying either you create a business because there is a desire for something.
So if you are starting a business that is a desire at this moment, don't start. Don't start, because people are not in desire today. Today, most people are trying to find out, how can we survive this whole fucking thing now? So, for example, personally, at this moment, I have no income. So for the moment, I'm not thinking like, shall I buy a new headphone? I'm thinking like, I will use my headphones until they drop down on the ground, because I need food, I need water, I need to pay my bills for my electricity. So that's my need today. So I have no desire. So if you're in a product desire or service desire, don't. If you are doing something related with the problems that we have today, or with really needed things, then I say that's a very good. Then you should start tomorrow.
Right. Right. So one more question related to team again. So Mohammed Sam says, so what is the knowledge I have to know to decide that this co-founder is a suitable one or not? So how should I base my decisions in this case?
It depends on your need. If you are, let's say, I mean, I don't know what is Mohammed doing. Assume that Mohammed is, for example, he did business administration, so he's very good in management, but he's going to do a SaaS solution, then he needs a co-founder that is a technical guy.
Right.
If he's the technical guy and he says, I'm not social, I'm very bad in sales, I'm not interested in these things, then you need a co-founder. So it has to be complementary. So don't start. I see a lot of people, they come from university, two friends that did the same business management, or they are both developers, and then they say we're going to start a business. But of course, I mean, you're two of the kind, two of the same. So two of the same is not good today. A team has to be complementary, and you need sales. You need somebody who makes a product, and you need sales. These are the two fundamental things you need in your team. That's the most crucial thing. So you have to think about what are you doing, what do you do, and what do you need as an extra.
Right, right. Hassan is asking about cutting the bleed. I mean, when do you know it's the right time to stop your venture? And how hard is it to take such decision?
The first time I did this, I stopped like 4 or 5 companies. The first time you do it is very hard because you always think like, oh, maybe tomorrow something nice will happen. And of course, it doesn't happen. So you always stop too late. So it means you bleed a lot. I mean, when I stopped the photo studio thing, I had to pay back a loan. I think 3 or 4 years after that I stopped my business, I was still paying back for that business. So everything has to do with cash. That is actually my fifth point. Cash is king. You have to count your money, and you have to understand that what is money. So in a business, it's very simple. If you are not making money and there's no outlook, not promises. Never trust promises from customers or potential customers. It's what is on your fucking bank account. If it is not on your bank account, it's not on your bank account, and you cannot pay your bills with air. So for me, stopping the business is you're in the red, because you always stop when you're in the red, never in the blue. You're in the red, and you see that this is not going to change very easily. If you're already in the red and you still have to look for money from investors, that's very bad unless you have contracts of customers. So cash is your drive to continue or to stop. That's a very important one. For those who go to investors, so the first thing that an investor wants to know is how is your runway. So what I mean by that is how long can you survive without sales, or how long can you survive having more cost than income today. If that is shorter than 6 months, then they know it's too short. You will not make it. If your runway is over 6 months, so a year, for example, then you can continue. Once you are less than 6 months and you start trying to find money and you cannot after 3 months, that's where I say this is red light.
Right.
Because otherwise you make debts, and don't make debts. That's all I'm saying. Don't make debts. Don't make that mistake that I made with my first adventure.
Right. That's a good point. That's a good point. So we were on lesson number 4, or decision number 4,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the fourth one is, what do you expect from your life balance? Your life-work balance. So if your life-work balance is, I want to play golf all the time, then become an employee half-time, something with coding that you make a lot of money, or become a freelancer who makes a lot of money and then has time to play golf. Otherwise, it's just hard-working and very time-consuming. I think you're a very good example, Valentina. You're also running your own business, and as soon as this whole crisis hit, you were doing all these things online, and you continued your journey. I mean, you didn't give up. You didn't sit down and say, my God, I go to the sea and just enjoy myself. You immediately take action and you change your whole thing. So I think this is a very nice proof of entrepreneurship. If you can do that, then you're a real entrepreneur for me.
Right, right. Mahmoud is also asking, how are you managing the risk nowadays with the current situation? For example, food ordering and delivery could be some of the most affected industries. I don't know, Mahmoud, are you in the food industry or, but he's particularly asking about this sector. So how to manage the risk?
You have to understand one thing. And then I come back to my first point. When you make the decision that you're an entrepreneur, being an entrepreneur means also you can live with risk. There are some, I mean, it's very obvious. The highest risk is that you say, I'm going to make today the next Rolex watch. That's a very high risk because nobody fucking wants a Rolex watch now. If you say, I want to do something with food delivery, then I say, yes, okay, that's a better thing because that is a really need today. But then you also have to find out, and then I go to my second point, your homework. Do you really have all the attributes to be successful in doing food delivery, for example? If you don't have a platform yet and you still have to create that platform, the software for that, if you still have to find customers, then you have to find out, like, who are my competitors? Can I add something to the market that I can outperform my competitor, yes or no? Because all these things are already taken care of. Where am I going to do it geographically? What kind of service do you have in mind? So if you don't have a competitive advantage to what's already there, your risk is 100%. 100%. So the chances of being successful are zero. That's the truth. That's the truth. So again, you go to your homework. The risk, for me, risk is part of your life as an entrepreneur. We don't know everything. We assume some things, and after 6 years, 6 months or a year, we can understand that our assumptions made sense, yes or no. That's called validation. So you can validate a few things ahead before you start your business, but after that, it's all about taking the risk, diving into the water, and then see what is the temperature and how deep is the water.
Right, right. That's very interesting. We have one more question from Mohammed Islam. He's saying, I'm sorry, this is the last question I asked about the team. Mohammed, we're here for you guys, so please ask all the questions you want.
We like questions.
So he's saying, I mean, I haven't enough experience with sales to actually decide that the one I want to select for sales is good or not. Oh, so he means, so when you're selecting someone in a field, right, of expertise that it's not your field, how do you know this is the right person?
KPIs.
Okay.
KPIs.
KPIs.
So key performance indicator. So it means that if you have a sales and he says, I'm very good in sales, but you have no idea what sales is, then you say, okay, let's create targets. Mm-hmm. And you can even let that person create the target. I mean, that's the best thing you can do. Because if you give the target, then it's like, yeah, but you said something that is not possible. So you say to them, okay, we need to be successful. Here's kind of the minimum that we want as an achievement. You create your KPI, and in the end of the month, we will see if you can really perform towards your KPIs, towards what you. So if you say, I'm going to close 10 contracts per month, and that person can only do 2 of them per month, forget it. It's not a good sales. Right. So you have to do this with KPIs.
And you you tried this in the trial period we were talking about before, right? When you test out the relationship, you can't decide from day one, okay, you are my co-founder, you kind of test it, right?
Yeah. Especially in sales, because most of the time salespersons can very good sell themselves.
Yeah.
But the big difference between selling yourself, I'm living in Turkey now, so we have kind of this Middle Eastern approach and culture where we are very good in selling ourselves. But when it comes to performing in a company, then sales goes a whole other direction. So they're then very good to explain why it was not possible, but in the end of the day, it's not done, and that is the main thing.
Right. Right. So let's move on to the fifth decision. 5 decisions for Mohammed Said, who entered late, and all of you who are joining late. 5 decisions that lead to startup success. What is the 5th lesson?
The 5th one. We will repeat them at the end. Well, the 5th one is cash is king. Cash is king, and next to that, a lesson that I learned: try not to need money from others.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Bootstrapping for me is still the best way to start a business, because then the ownership is 100% from you. If you do need money, then I come back to your shareholder agreements. So even if you have only 5% of a company, if your shareholder agreement says that you are the boss, then you're the boss, even though you only have 5% of the company. So for me, starting a business is not a lifestyle. That's something that I see too many times now. So starting a business is not driving around in the fancy car and having a Visa card from the company. This is not entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship means, or starting a business means, I will make money. The law is very simple about that. If you start a business, you have to make profit. This is by law.
Right.
And it makes sense, because if you have no profit and you're in the loss, you're bankrupt. So it's a very simple thing, entrepreneurship. You make money or you don't make money. If you don't make money, you're bankrupt. So
Right.
then you should do something else. If you make money, then it's about how sustainable can you make that success then? Can you really repeat it every year again and again? Can you grow? Can you outperform your competition and that kind of things? So cash is king. I always ask anyone who has a company, can you tell me how much money is on your bank account? That's my first question. My second question is, how many outstanding invoices do you have today?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody of all these founders that I asked this in the last 7 years can answer this question. And that's very sad. Because the only thing that should really be in your head as a company owner is, how much money do I have on the bank? How much money is outstanding? Because you have to chase that money. That's very important. Because you also know your costs. You have to pay your costs with the money that's coming in. Your employee costs, rent, and that kind of thing. So for me, cash management is the most important thing. The most important thing. And we are living in weird times, because the word startup actually became very popular when the internet came. So before internet, we were called entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Then the internet came, and then suddenly the world was the market. And then we started to talk about startups. Now, what is the difference between entrepreneur and startup is that the startup knows his exit plan. So the investor asks you, what is your exit strategy?
Right.
An entrepreneur doesn't fucking care about that. He just wants to have a very successful business. And if in 20 years he can sell it, he will be very happy. But in the end of the day, for him, it's almost like a lifestyle. So I just want to be an entrepreneur who is successful, who has a business that is growing with nice people around me, and that is so. So the whole WWW things changed everything. And then we have now, this is now the second wave we have. So the first wave after the internet was what we call today the dot-com bubble. So in the 2000s, around 2000, people came with Excel spreadsheets, and they were going to be rich in 3 months, because the world was the market, and we're talking about millions of people. So millions of people were poured in as investment, and all these things went bust. So the investors lost a lot of money. That was a dot-com bubble. Now we're in the second phase. So after that, the confidence came back. So now we have more feasible ideas, and there are good startups now that really make very good money. So also the investors. Because now people say, I invest in you if you can prove to me that you can make money. Before, they were investing in an idea, the Excel sheet.
Right.
Today they say, do you have your first customer? Yes or no? Do you have customers in your pipeline? Yes or no? Do you make money? Do you make an invoice? So these are the questions that are asked now. So this is the second wave that we are now, where that making money is important. So in the beginning, a little bit like prototype was enough, but now prototype is also not enough anymore. Make money.
Sorry, we lost you in the last phrases, in the last couple of phrases, because of the internet. Can you repeat that part?
No problem. So in the second phase, so in the first phase, when we had the dot-com bubble, people were investing money in Excel sheets because of the big figures. An Excel sheet is a wonderful tool. You start on the right bottom, and that's where you define your profit, and then you make a calculation, and you have the whole Excel sheet is full of figures, and in the end, you know what you're going to make as money in 3 years' time. One big lie. But a lot of money was lost there. Today, you have to prove that you can make money. You have to show your bank account and say, look, this money comes from customers. It's not about prototyping anymore. It's not about I have my first people clicking on my website. That's finished. Today it's about, can you generate cash? That's what people want to know now. So cash is very important. So you have to know what is your cash situation yourself, bank account, outstanding customers. Very, very important to these two figures. And of course, you have to know your costs. These are three things. It's very simple. It's very simple. I'm not talking about profit. I'm not talking about EBITDA. I'm talking about three simple things. And they're all related to cash. Because one is on your bank account, that's cash. Cash is coming and cash goes out. These three things, very, very important. And in terms of investment, every investor you get on board is a personal liability, I always say. So anyone who comes in your board and is a shareholder has a voice in the board. I've been in many board meetings as a mentor, and sometimes I really see very bad things happening in these boards. Because I often see founders getting very small because the people with the money are too powerful. They don't understand the business. They want quick results, and it kills the founder. So the longer you can do without money from external, the better. The better.
Right. That's very valuable advice. Thank you so much, Patrick. Let's do a quick roundup of the 5 decisions that will lead you to success. So the first one, we said it's really question yourself. Question if you're you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur, and if that's what you really want to commit to, right?
Yeah, that's the first one.
Yeah. Second
one, homework.
Do your homework. Exactly.
Do your homework.
Yeah. Perfect.
Especially on the competition side, because on the competition side you can learn how they do it. So you can also learn how you can be better. It's very important.
Right. Number 3?
Number 3 is never stop improving. So you're never finished. Always search for that or look for that perfect product market fit.
Right. 4th?
4 is forget golfing, swimming every day. So your time that you will consume on your business is huge. Live with it.
Forget the 9 to 5 idea.
Absolutely. Like you.
But I do dance. I mean, I try to keep some kind of balance.
Yeah. I walk the dog.
For a little while.
I walk the dog. That's also good.
That's good. So, and the 5th one, and I think we extended quite a lot on this one because it's rather important, right? You said cash is king, right?
Yeah. More than ever. Perfect. In times of crisis today, I was mentoring today for Seed Stars, and I was very happy that I saw that these startups were having a runway of at least 1 year to 1 year and a half. They knew about the money in their company, that they knew the in, the out, what's hanging there, invoiced, not collected, had to be invoiced. They knew these things. So that really makes me very, very happy. Because I know that because when I started my first companies, the first 10 years, I had no idea what I was doing. If you would ask me how much money you have on your bank account, I could not answer you. And I will be even bluntly honest with you, I was not even interested because I was like, I'm going to make a company. I was not even calculating anything. Really bad.
Right. Just before we go, we have one more question from one of the audience members. So Hadir is saying, we are debating in our startup, we make card games between. So what they do is making card games. They're debating between going online, making their games available to print and play, losing their sense of ownership, or just be the only provider. The first option will change a lot of our startup structure. Is that time suitable to take such decision?
Well, anything that is online is smarter than anything that is offline today.
Yeah.
If the card game is what I think it is, then going online looks to me like the most reasonable decision you can maybe. As I said before, rule with your head. Don't rule with your emotions. I know I said it in the Seed Stars thing. So what I see in our region is we are always thinking with our belly. We're always here.
Yeah.
Never here. We should work with this one. Today, everything is online, and there's a reason for that, and it will stay at least until the end of the year. So if you can put your business from offline to online, please start now, not even tomorrow, now.
Right, right. Well, thank you so much, Patrick. We've extended like way further than we expected initially, but it has been very, very insightful, very, very engaging. Thank you so much for your
My pleasure.
advice.
Pleasure for the opportunity.
Thank you. And thank you for all of you who have been sending your questions. I hope it was useful. We'll see you tomorrow for another quarantine session. Tomorrow we have Hassan from Palestine who will talk about structural changes for their startup. Happy quarantine. Stay home and stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.